Welcome to the space for transformational leaders to unleash their magic, see better client results, work lighter, and live source. Hello, welcome. This is Darla LeDoux, founder of Sourced and author of Shift the Field, and welcome to this video in our series on what I call the Old Tired Path, or OTP for short. If you're not sure what that is or what I'm talking about, go to the first video in this series where I overview the Old Tired Path. Okay, so we're going to dive in today. We have crowdsourced these themes. If you don't know, at Sourced, we work with transformational leaders, coaches, consultants, creatives, and healers who are committed to raising the consciousness on the planet, helping people shift their energy. One of the ways we do that as leaders is to really be aware of our own energy patterns that we're bringing into this space. So this particular energy pattern, right, the Old Tired Path always represents an energy pattern. The one I'm going to talk about today is loved, unloved. Loved, unloved. And again, these were crowdsourced. This was a common one. And a lot of people had accepted as well. So loved and accepted, unloved, or rejected. So let's break this down a little bit. What happens if you have a filter of loved or unloved? So let's say you were the first child, and then your little brother came along, and all of a sudden he was the favorite and you felt unloved. You felt rejected. You felt like whatever he had, you didn't have, and you were going to try to figure out how you could be loved. Or another example, for me, I relate to this. My parents divorced when I was young. And, it took me a long time to actually get to the place of realizing that I had felt unloved or I had felt rejected when my dad would make plans with me. And he would say he was going to come and pick me up at a certain time. And then often he wouldn't show up. And so I'd be sitting on the front steps waiting for him to pick me up. And of course, I decided it must be something wrong with me that he wouldn't show up, right? As opposed to assuming there was something going on with him. So there are so many reasons we might come up with this, right? Like that I never want to experience the pain of being unloved again. And so I'm going to do whatever I can to make you love and accept me, as an example. So what might this look like? What does someone who is trying to be loved and accepted do? How does that show up for people? So let's just take a look at this. Maybe I'm going to be who you want, right? I'm going to figure out what you want from me, and I'm going to give it to you. Maybe I am then going to withhold my truth because I'm going to avoid conflict. Okay, so I'm not going to say what I really think because I want to be loved and accepted. Makes sense, right? Perhaps you are going to overgive, right? You're doing to get approval. Let me do this for you. Let me do this for you. Let me give you this for you in order to be loved and accepted. Maybe you're super nice. Maybe you are buying love, right? With gifts or money or whatever. Okay. So imagine that these would be some of the behaviors to try to get love. Let me be who you want me to be. Who do I need to be for you to love me? Do you love me now? Do you love me now? Do you love me now? Now, here's the thing with the Old Tired Path, right? because probably we had an experience here and we're trying to get to here. We're always evaluating based on, where am I? Do you love me? Do you not love me? Do you love me? Do you not love me? And so we're constantly doing this dance and seeing everything in life through this filter. And so when we're doing that, the experience of who I have to be to get love and the outcome of unloved and rejected and what that looks like, they actually have the same flavor. Even though they seem opposite, they have the same flavor. So I'll show you what I mean here. Let's say unloved, okay? If we're trying to be loved, right? We're doing all of this to get love. But in the background, we're thinking, you don't love me. You don't love me, right? Let me try to get you to love, but you don't love me, right? Because in the background, we're really feeling that. And so the more we try to get love, the more we end up over here. So we start doing all of these things, but then we're feeling unloved anyway. So if we're coming from unloved, guess what? Some of these behaviors might actually look the same. I didn't leave enough space here, so I'm going to write it up here. Pretend it's down here. So if I'm feeling unloved and rejected, how does someone behave? They probably withhold, right? I'm not going to be loving toward you if you're not being loving toward me. So guess what? Withholding, right? I'm going to withhold my love. I'm going to if you don't, show me love, I'm going to stay to myself. We might feel, why bother, right? So this energy, like if I'm going to be rejected anyway, why bother to show up? Why bother to share with you who I really am? Because it's so painful if I share with you who I really am and I get rejected anyway. And so I'm not even going to bother to show up as my full self. So I'm just going to phone it in, right? I'm going to be who you want me to be. I'm just going to be, whatever, because if I'm my true self, that hurts to be rejected. So again, some of the same outcomes. We might, this is interesting. So this overgiving, right? If we are trying to get loved, but we believe we're unloved, right? We're going to give in weird ways. I'm going to call it weird ways, but in other words, we are going to try to give, but it's not actually going to be received, right? Have you ever been, if you're trying to give to prove, have you ever just done so much and the person doesn't even notice because they're just not in receptive mode to that? When your giving is coming from this place, right, it's going to land strange, or people aren't going to actually be open to receiving it. And so, it ends up that you're just trying and trying, but you're still feeling unloved and rejected. If you're over here, the other thing that happens is you don't give other people a chance to contribute to you. So no one can contribute or give to you, right? No one can give to you when you're feeling unloved and rejected. I know we've all had this experience. We can imagine this, right? And so if no one can give to you, then guess what? You're doing everything yourself. You're having to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And so here and here, you're withholding. You're not being your true self. You are giving, and or doing everything yourself. You're probably a little busy, overwhelmed. There could be all kinds of outcomes that look the same, whether you're trying to prove you're loved or you're trying to prove you're unloved. Okay? It's the opposite sides of the same coin, but it's the same energy. So If I would love to know in the comments if you're relating to this idea of loved, unloved, or accepted, rejected. It's the same thing. And when we're on this line, we just basically, like, we think we're trying to be here, but all we're doing every time, the more we try to be here, the more we end up here, and vice versa. And so the entire world view or life experience is interpreted through this filter of loved, unloved, unloved, unloved. And we can't get off it, right? Everything someone does, like let's say someone in your life, a loved one, does something. You are immediately using that to give you evidence of whether you're loved or unloved. Immediately, all the time. And it's kind of hard to live with, right? If you're constantly evaluating, oh, am I loved? Am I unloved? Am I loved? Or am I accepted? Am I rejected all the time, right? It's hard for people to really feel love and connected to you when we're on this path. Okay? So what do? Well, the first thing is we want to get present to the impact of that. So if this is you, you might want to pause the video, take a moment and journal about, how is this showing up in your life? How is this showing up in your business? Are you trying to get clients to love you, but you're secretly afraid that they won't? There's all kinds of symptoms that would show up in your business, right? Overgiving, over-delivering, people leaving, people not getting the results because they can't take all of what you're giving them. You're going to just keep going back and forth. So if this is you, get present to the impact. And then the question you want to ask yourself is, if this were no longer here, what would that make available? If none of this existed, who would I get to be instead? Another way to think about it is, if no matter what, I could never be loved, I could never be enough to be loved, no matter what, it's impossible, there's no point, then what would that make available, right? If I could step off this path, and I like to draw it up here, right? If I could step off that path and into a whole new realm that has nothing to do with whether I'm loved and accepted, who would I be? Who would I be? So if that's you, take a moment, feel into that. If it no longer mattered, if I were loved and accepted, if love and acceptance didn't exist, then what? Who would I get to be? The word that pops to mind for me is vocal. I don't know if someone needs to hear that one or if that's for me, but I felt it in my throat. And I thought, if that were not there, right, without that, I get to just be vocal. I don't even know exactly what that means. That's the word that came up. What comes up for you as an energy or as a way of being when you step off this path? I would love to hear in the comments. If you're resonating with this, please let us know. If you like this series, go ahead and share it on your socials, like and subscribe. The more people really understand, because here's the thing. When we think, oh my gosh, I'm not loved, and then we, create an affirmation, I am loved and accepted, the back of our mind is going, no, I'm not, right? And we just keep proving this and proving this and proving this. And guess what? There's no gold down this tunnel, right? When you've walked this path over and over and over, it's like, okay, maybe just get bored of this path and you can decide to create something else. So I'm curious what yours is. And please spread the word. And I'll see you in the next video.